All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream for this Saturday. And as usual, I wanted to start with the updates from this past week. I wish there were more to show. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to do too much work, but I did get to do a little bit of fun stuff, I would call it. Let's take a look at that. And you recall from last week that I was showing a little bit of the kind of the sneaking, like this wall hugging. I'm not sure what you would call it. This car, this narrow passage, uh, movement. Let's call it that. And one thing that I didn't really, wasn't really, I wouldn't call it happy, but I wanted to give a little bit more of a feel that you're in a tight space, so to speak. That was the hand placement because the animation, kind of had the hands around just hanging down and you didn't weren't able to see too much movement, especially since I'm limiting the amount of the view angle and well, not necessarily the view angle, but the pitch and the yaw of the camera. So that way you don't spin in place, which I'm still trying to solve. So what I did was this. So when you enter the space, I have this IK hand placement where it just places the hands on the wall. And you can see this is the ALSV4 issue happening here where it's trying to do that turn in place where it's just rotating and it plays that turn in place animation because it thinks that you're trying to spin. And what I'm probably going to do for that is just set up a camera that I have on this character and switch to that. And that one is can be locked to a specific angle. So that way, hopefully, the character won't turn based on the camera. And here's the results. So now the hands are placed at um, where it hits the wall, basically. So you can see there's these little what I would call like they're just line traces, and they're shot from each one of the, I think it's at the clavicle, and they're shot forward. And then I'm just positioning the hands so it looks like they're kind of leaning up against the wall and something like that. And if we go into like third person, you'll see that that's kind of how it looks. Yeah. So, once you exit, I still need to fix this once you exit because there's a little bit of an issue with the capsule. And just like before, I'm still trying to figure out that issue where it kind of the camera has this little collision with well, not collision, but it has that little shimmy when that jitter when you're in the space. So I'm still working on figuring that out. Hopefully, I'll get to do a little bit more work in the coming days. Okay, and so from a functional aspect, or gameplay aspect, I would say that was one of the updates. I wish there was a little more than at least what I planned from last week. But yeah, so that was one of them. And let's jump into like the main level, and we'll take a look at a few more of the updates there. And those were more on the level design side. It was one of those weeks when I didn't get around to do too much of the, let's call it, like the blueprinting visual aspect, back end aspect of things. And I got to do, you know, I was playing a little bit more with the world design, level design parts of things. And that's why there's not a lot of updates on the gameplay side of things. All right, so the level is loading right now. And plus, it was a pretty nice week, so got to spend some time outside, which I highly recommend if you don't do that too often. And yeah, that was maybe one of the reasons as well, because this weekend it looks pretty dreary. It's going to be some rain, cloudy, and I'm going to be indoors and hopefully get to do a little bit more work on the game. All right, so this one's almost done loading. It's taking a little bit longer than usual. I'm not entirely sure why it's taking so long. And yep, that would do it. Oh, Unreal Engine 5.2, I tell you. Hopefully this last plugin that I'm relying on, hopefully they're gonna um, do it or update it to 5.3 and I'll be able to skip 5.2 because this one seems like a complete mess. I mean, I've only had issues. It's pretty unstable. 5.1 uh, was really good. 5.2 is, I mean, it kind of goes to show how quickly they went about releasing 5.3. And so let's see, this thing is loading here. Let's try and load into the main level again. Sometimes what I've noticed is that Unreal Engine gets really bogged down when it comes to if you have a ton of stuff in this, like clearing out these few directories here. It's, I believe, saved and intermediate, and if you have binaries, clearing those out really helps, at least for me. Because you wouldn't think of it, but it does build up to 2.3 gigs and actually cleared this out like about a week or so ago, so it balloons pretty quickly. All right, so this one's loading here. not entirely sure why it needs to um, load shaders. Yeah, so well, that's a huge disappointment for for today's stream. I'm literally not sure what's going on. I do have enough space, so there's something related to the renderer. Okay, so I'm gonna try and delete these directories that I mentioned. So saved and intermediate. Let's try and fire this up again. It's a little frustrating when it happens during the stream because literally earlier this morning it loaded just fine. So we'll give this one more try. We'll see if it's gonna fail again because I'm really on the edge of just doing a run to Best Buy and finally at least upgrading my motherboard and my processor to something of 2020s era. Yeah, let's try this one more time. And yeah, if it still fails, unfortunately, I'm just gonna cancel the stream for now and hopefully get back later. Hey, Susanna. Well, welcome. Well, actually, it started off with a bit of a frustration, I would say, in that I can't load into my main level for unknown reasons. So it depends on whether that can we can load into that. The plan was to do a little bit of level design uh, since I didn't get to do as much of the gameplay as I was hoping. It was only uh, hoping, adding a little bit of IK hand placement whenever the player is in one of those tight spaces. And I wish I would have gotten around to do a little bit more, but I did not get to that. And yeah, so this is again, this is a frustration of mine that cannot really understand in this preparing shaders. Preparing shaders for what? I did not change any of them. So yeah, the other thing that I mentioned is that I'm hoping this plugin that I'm using, they're gonna migrate it to 5.3 because 5.2 is just, to me at least, it's a letdown. I've only had like crashes here and there and just something that hadn't happened in 5.1. So if you can avoid 5.2, please do. And yeah, so this is part of my my processor being of, I don't even know how old it is. And that's why I was mentioning earlier that if this doesn't load again, if it fails, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and go to Best Buy and just upgrade my CPU and motherboard and maybe, upgrade my RAM memory. But yeah, it's, as you can see, it preparing shaders is just incredibly slow. And I'm not sure if it's a 5.2 thing because I haven't noticed this one in 5.1. Uh, yeah, and it's interesting that it's preparing shaders for this particular one thing that I did change the one of the bushes that uh, is added to the moss layer on the landscape, and I am let's try and remove that. I'm not sure if that's I wouldn't see that causing this issue, this crash that I'm seeing when loading into it. But it's sometimes, it's one of those things that you don't really know why it's happening. What are the usual steps to trying to figure out how this stuff happens? Well, it's a tough one. You can, if you're, more experienced, I guess, you can always go into, let me see, where is that usually? Is it in saved? I think it's in saved. So you get logs. So you get this on your, or you know, from your project, you get a little log here that I believe there's a bunch of stuff written. Well, there is a bunch of stuff written to it when the crash happens. Now, if you can read through it, awesome. There's some stuff that uh, sometimes might not make sense, or you look at it and it's like, what is this? And uh, one thing that I do highly suggest is using Git or some kind of source control. Because luckily, well, luckily, I got into the habit of pushing my changes every time I'm in a working state, right? So something that, I know works, I'm just gonna push the changes so that way I can revert back if, crap like this happens where the main level doesn't load. And usually reverting to that last commit, it it solves my issue, and I can, okay, you know what? I know what I've done last time, so I'm going to try and address that. And that's why I highly recommend you use. And GitHub is free, which I love, and they take binary files, for stuff like Unreal. And yeah, so my entire project is in GitHub, which uh, saved me a bunch of times, and I highly recommend it. You can, the only thing with that is you can only, the max, the largest file is 100 megabytes unless I think you have to pay for like the large file format to upload files bigger than 100 megabytes. But if you're getting into files that are individual files that are bigger than 100 megabytes, you might want to rethink how you're approaching things. I mean, there's definitely going to be files, like probably texture files, maybe like a um, really large texture, even though at that point is gigantic if it goes over 100 megabytes, that you might not be able to upload to GitHub in that if you don't use the large file format. But I haven't run into that issue yet. So, oh, hey, Funky Pants. So, Susanna, hopefully that gives you an idea, at least of what I'm doing to figure out some of these issues. So one of them is the log. The other one, if the log doesn't help me, make sure you use source control, GitHub, Perforce, whatever you want to use. If you want to pay for Perforce, I think Perforce is I'm not sure what the technical name for it is, like locally distributed. They don't offer actual hosting, so you have to set up a server yourself, is my understanding, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, I'm glad it helps. Funky Pants, let me turn up the mic in here. Let me know if this one works a little bit better. I just turned up the mic. Hey, sorry. Yeah, long time no see, Funky Pants, and it's going well. I was hoping to do a little bit more level design today because I didn't get to do too much work on what I was hoping to this week. It was really nice out, so I got to spend some time outside. Oh, better. That's awesome. Excellent. So then I was wondering how to use the source control for working on a team. Well, it's actually pretty easy. So let me show you the way I'm doing it. And So I use GitHub Desktop. Um, if you're, it depends on how familiar you are with, Git Bash. If you want to use the console, not the console, sorry, the terminal. But with Git Bash and Git in general, you just create a repository. So in my case, is this thing called On Your Own, and I make changes to files, and I can say, okay, I've made a change to, let's select this one, to this test level that I have, and I'm just gonna, you know, make a message here that I've, added something, right? And then, maybe a description if you want to add anything to that. And then I'm gonna commit it. So basically committing it is just staging it to be pushed to the remote repository where other people can uh, can clone that repository and add their contributions, right? And with the nice thing, my understanding, the nice thing with external actors, let's um let's try because it might make help a little bit more if I let's try and load into that into my main level. Huh, this is kind of interesting. I used to, oh yeah, forgot that there's no more recent levels because I deleted the saved and the intermediate. Let's go into main level and hopefully this won't crash this time. Yeah, I think you would need to upgrade your plan if you want to use the large file system, uh, and that I don't think it's too expensive. Oh, did it? It actually loaded. Okay, so that's good. I don't think it's actually too much, but yeah, I think I've tried it at one time, and I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna try and manage my things as best as I can. The other advantage, and one thing that I wanted to mention, is with I think it started at 5.1. Let me quickly load everything in here. Uh, so what you get is these you get the option to use external actors. So what that does in your project, so let me show you in mine here. In content, you'll get these two directories called external actors and external objects. I'm not entirely sure what the difference between what the objects is for, but for every one of these external actors, let's say you and I work on the same level, right? Um, the external actors, my understanding is that it's going to manage one actor individually, and there's going to be a change for each one of those actors. So let me hopefully load into here, and I'm hoping it's not going to crash again. Fingers crossed. It's going, I think. So the reason why I'm waiting I wanted to show you this external actors and how that looks and works, right? So while that is loading, you'll have all these maps, right? For example, that I have converted to external actors. And you'll notice there's like a bunch, I'm not sure how they structured all these, but there's um, there's an individual, I'm not sure if you would call it a reference, but each one of these files represents kind of the state of one of these actors in the world, right? So for example, this rock here, actually this is one full level. and it loaded, everything loaded. That's awesome. So each one of these actors represents one of those files. And before, there was no setup. So for example, if you didn't use external actors, everything was in your .map file, right? So this one is, let me actually, let's open one of these levels that I didn't get to clean as I was saying from last week, but okay. So this is one of the level instances, right? That loads a specific level that you have already set up before. Now, if this level is not set up to use external actors, one thing you'll notice is the size of the level is pretty big, and it can get pretty big, like more than 100 megabytes, even though it's just a level, but it might have a lot of actors in it, and it stores the details for each one of those actors. Now with external actors, that is broken down into these individual files that you have here. So in this case, this actor is cave to mansion level, which pretty badly named because that's not really it. But now this one is broken into all these external actors. So what you would have is, you and I are working on this level. Now, if I go into edit, I'm going to select this cliff. I don't really like it. It's being placed over here, so I'm just going to move it around. Now, that's going to make a change in my um, GitHub for that particular file, which is one of those external actors. I wouldn't be able to tell you which one it is. But at the same time, you make a change to, this cliff. Okay. So Susanna says, I don't like this cliff here. I'm just going to delete it or move it away. Now, if I commit my changes and you commit your changes, in theory, and as my understanding goes, you would not run into a conflict. So we can both edit the same thing at the same time. Well, granted, we're not editing the same actors, right? So for example, I'm going to task you with, you know what, Susanna, you're going to edit the exit of the cave, and I'm going to edit the kind of the entrance of the cave, or, kind of in that fashion. But the fact that we're working on, um, even if we're working on the same map, which is this cave exit, we can individually uh, modify different actors and not run into conflicts when we commit it to Git. And hopefully that makes sense. That is my understanding of it. Uh, sorry, hopefully that didn't come off as screaming or it was too loud. But that's my understanding the of this setup with external actors. So you would have to open your level and then set that up. So let's take a look at that. And if I go into my cave to mansion, and I'm gonna I'm gonna hope it's not gonna once I load back into the main level, I hope it's not gonna crash. But as you've seen, deleting those two directories, the intermediate and the saved, I believe that might have helped. And so the way to set it up, oh no 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 no, no, it's fine. Susanna, I guess this is one of the reasons that I also do these streams. It's kind of sharing some of the stuff that I've discovered, and I'm hoping I'm not gonna steer anybody on a wrong path, so to speak. But yeah, and once you have one of these levels, like the cave to man, in this case, this cave to mansion level, in the world settings, there is a setting somewhere down here where it says use external actors. Let me see. External. Yeah, there we go. So it's on the world, and you can set it to use external actors. And that's what creates all of this. It looks really messy, to be honest with you. I'm not entirely sure, but I, kind of get it from, a setup standpoint. So you would get a directory called external actors, and within that, for the, let's say, cave to mansion level, you get a bunch of these directories. I'm not entirely sure how they're set up, how they're broken down, but each one of these contain, and I'm actually not sure if you can edit one of these. No, it's a binary file. Um, and excuse me, but that's how you set up a level to use external actors. And yeah, just a little bit confused with source control. So let me know what's confusing about the source control part. Is it are you asking about how to set it up, or and give me 1 second, I just need to grab some water. Okay, so besides that bandwidth issue, I sometimes find myself unable to commit or to push changes and they stay forever stashed. I Hmm, Azure with GitHub Desktop. Interesting. I haven't tried Azure yet. Azure. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but so I haven't tried that yet. One thing to note is, and I think I've tried to recommend this to multiple times to some folks, is don't overcomplicate it. Something that should be pretty probably a simple solution. The And when you say unable to commit or to push changes, did you, so one of the things, let me mention this. One of the things with GitHub Desktop and that can help you if you use GitHub, if you use like a GUI, and yeah, you'll see the something that I just mentioned, right? You'll see the changes, right? These two changes that I've made. But with GitHub Desktop, if you're trying to commit something that's over 100 megabytes, like I think this level um, is bigger. So it says, the following files are over 100 megabytes. If you went through like the terminal, like in my case, I'm using Git Bash for the terminal, but the terminal won't tell you about that. And you might end up with the issue when you're trying to commit, that's going to throw an error, and it's not very indicative of, this file is bigger than what I can handle type of thing. And I'm not sure if that's one of the issues. If you're again, if you're using the terminal, let me quickly show you something here. So let's see, where is my folder? Okay, so here we are in here. So I can also use Git Bash, which is kind of the most common terminal for this. You might end up with the issue when you're committing, like I was saying, that you can either not, there's like a fail commit, there's like a conflict or a bunch of that stuff. And if you're using the terminal, you can always do, I believe is it git log? Yeah, so there we go. So it's git log, and you can always reset to one of the other commits. And what that would do is would move where you at back to that point, and all your changes are going to be ready to be, stashed again. And yeah, it's sometimes it can get a little tricky with Git, especially when you run into conflicts because we use Git at work as well. So I have a bunch of people of I have some people that I work with, and they're like, "Hey, Andre, can you help me with this? I'm at a point where I'm a little stuck." And the best way to do it is to do a git log, and also the other command would be and this is if you're using git bash through the terminal, and you can always do a git status to show you where you're at, and as far as the files that you need to commit, or where you're at. And as you can see right now, it shows me the same things as it showed me in uh, in the desktop application. I like the desktop application because I can select it a little easier. It's easier for me to cancel a commit as well than going through the terminal. Hopefully that made sense. No, I'm not, because I all my changes, everything that's over 100 megabytes, I'm not committing, and I'm actually actively trying to get rid of. And as you can see, most of them are related to levels and this detail normal, which is from a package that I'm not using, so I'm just going to set it to be ignored. And all these levels are not using external actors. And that's why the issue. The issue is that I'm not using external actors, and therefore making this level be over 100 megabytes, which is, I totally understand why Unreal has gone this way. I like the idea. I also like the idea of, you know what, you're gonna go ahead, Sistena, and edit this rock, and I'm gonna edit this rock, and we can commit the changes and not run into issues. Of course, we're not gonna edit the same thing, but um, we're gonna edit two different items in the same level, which previously was not possible. We would have run into conflicts. Like, I would have had to push my changes, coordinate with you. I'm gonna have to push my changes, then you're gonna have to pull my changes, and then push your changes, basically. So that way your what you're working on is not gonna conflict with what I'm working on, basically. Yeah, and the nice thing with Git is also you get 100 gigabytes for free, which is pretty cool, and a private repository, which previously wasn't. You had to pay to have a private repository, which it wasn't too much, but yeah, it wasn't free, and so now it's pretty cool to have that. Yeah, and Sasena, I'm not sure. Do you have me on Discord? If you don't, I can always try and like help you out. Um, well, so I'm not sure if you mean like the CDN, like I think it's like the content delivery network. That was more for like my understanding is that's more for like caching HTML pages and delivering that, like Cloudflare and those kinds of Fastly, that type of service. Not sure if that works with Git, if that's what you're referring to as far as CDN. But my understanding is they're not really connected. Okay, and so one thing that I also wanted to share is a little bit of work on what I think what I've mentioned is kind of like the level design. I was hoping to get a little bit more work on that, but I've updated some of the shaders for these rocks so they get like a top blend, and especially if they're placed like this, there's a little bit of an easier blending between like the surface of this and the rock itself. Right. Okay. Oh, yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. That's how things are done sometimes. You got to think of them out loud. But like I said, let me know if you have me on Discord. We can always chat if you're running into trouble, and hopefully I can assist. Okay. Another quick update, and maybe what we'll work on this stream It's we'll work more on the visual side of things. I've also re previously you've only seen the environment with like the trees and just these the landscape grasses slash bushes. But I haven't really added in any of the kind of the I would say undergrowth maybe, like logs and rocks and such. So I've been playing around with regenerating some of those, and this is kind of how they turn out when it comes to some of these things on the surface that still require collisions. So I can't rely on the landscape grass for them. And this is how things are turning out for this area, So there's like some stumps, there's some like logs on the ground. So just adding some more detail um, to the terrain, like some of these smaller boulders, kind of rocky mosses, some stumps around here. Let me see. There's another section over here. Maybe there's some logs. Yeah, there's just some like fallen raw logs on the ground. Just to add a little bit more detail in there. Also, for the roads, if you've seen it from a previous stream, I was using this IA scatter tool to add these damages, which look like this, and they're basically just this tool itself has an option to provide either a blueprint actor or a static mesh. So what I've provided is actually just this simple actor that has a set of decals, and I can quickly show you because it's very simple. And I'm telling you, it's being opened. There we go. And so what I have is I have a simple array of three, or actually four decal patches in this case. And I'm just getting a quick random integer, and I'm setting the decal material for this one decal that's in this actor. And depending on which one it is, I'm adjusting the size. Some of them were kind of small and I wanted to make them a little bit bigger. And that's how this turns out. So if I was to like move it around a little bit, as you can see, there's like it generates since it's just a random integer, it kind of generates a little bit of a different set of actors. Also, with the concrete patches, some of the things that I've noticed is actually just walking around my neighborhood is they're kind of like oriented at 90 degrees, so you won't see one of these square patches placed at a 45-degree angle. And the tool, the eye scatter tool, what it also allows for is a rotation snap. So if I set that to 0, you'll see some of them might be kind of at a weird rotation, which I'm not sure if it looks too realistic to me. When it comes to, patching roadways, I would think there'd be, kind of at a square patch along the road. So that's why with the rotation snap, I can set it so that they're, kind of straight aligned. In some of the games that I've played, I don't recall seeing some that are, at a weird angle. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing for these kind of road patches, broken down sections, just to add a little bit more variety in it and break down the kind of the tiling of the road texture for that as well. Okay, another thing that I've was working on adding is some of these electrical poles that you've seen me add in the past. And I've played around with this a little bit because, these can be on both sides of the road. And what I've edited is the option to something that I didn't have before is the, turning off some of the cables and turning them back on. Also, the option to flip the light on the pole, so it's either one side or the other side, because this one can be on the other side of the road, but I you know would like to be able to have the light where it's supposed to. Okay, now the guardrail was something that I've kind of experimented with a little bit, and best that I could have it is on a landscape spline, which works out pretty well. The only thing with this one, and what you'll see, is that it has a very small, what is it? What's the term for this? Let me jump into here. Splines. And so it has a very small half width and a very small side fall off, because I'm not sure if it's 5.2, but in my case, I can't, before in 5.1, like I was moving this point here, and the landscape was automatically sculpted based on this. Now I could not figure out why that is not being done, if it's a specific setting or what it is, but I have to like click on deform landscape to spline to only, to all splines, because only selected doesn't work. And so that was one of the issues. Now this one, since this one runs right alongside the road, I need to position it right on where the road is, because it's going to sculpt the terrain oddly around it, which, we don't really want. Right. So those were a couple of the updates around here. I'm debating whether to extend this any further. I think it might be good where it is. Oh yeah, and another issue, and this is a UI, I think an Unreal UI kind of bug or something. It's scaling this little graphic indication of where the control point is based on the half width, which is stupid. You know, I don't get that. But yeah, like if I was in here, I would not be able to tell where that one is. So luckily you can go into wireframe mode, but yeah, that's a little, you know, I don't get it. All right, well, let's try and kind of close these the guardrail, and place some more of the electrical uh, electrical poles that goes all the way to our something that we worked on in the previous stream, to our little tunnel here. That's actually a good point, Susanna. So let's take a look. Let me just quickly arrange this into place. All right, that should do it. So selecting the spline via details panel. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can, because there's no you only select like a control point, and that's the only trouble with it. So I'm not sure if you can select it, or if there's any details, unless you select that spline point. Now you can select the spline if you were to do it like this, right? Yeah, it's a landscape spline, because I'm thinking it might be more effective than just a regular spline. The big thing with it is that with the landscape spline, or with the regular spline, you have to think about the spacing between each point. because it's going to stretch or compress, the mesh. But with the landscape spline, you don't have to worry about that. You just have to worry about the size of the mesh, and that's a big advantage. But like I said, unfortunately, you can't really. And this is just, I'm exaggerating here. It's just a small hassle when it comes uh, to these to these splines that you don't want necessarily to sculpt the terrain, right? Okay, let's start. Let's add some more of these electrical poles here. And one thing that I was trying to figure out, I'm not sure if I can, is to set this up on one of these IA scatter tools. Because with the IA scatter tool, I'm also setting these street signs, right? This is also on a IA scatter tool. These where these street signs are added. Let me see, is there any more? Yeah, there's a couple of more over here. And it'd be what I'd like to try maybe, I'm not sure if it's gonna be doable, is to set this actor up so that it detects within a certain radius of itself if there's another one of these, and then just automatically link the cables to it. That'd be interesting. Let's actually take a look at that because, some of these ideas happen during streams, right? And I'm not sure if we can do a get actor. Um, hmm. Yeah, see, what I was hoping for is to get you can get all actors, but I can get all actors of class, and this would be, so it'd be the electrical pole, and yeah, it'd be a tough one because I don't want them linking back to each other, right? So I want this one to link to this one and not the other way around, and this one to link to the next one. So yeah, I'd have to think about it if it's possible to just place these around here and then link one to the other through just kind of procedurally. But for now, I think it's just going to be a little bit of a little bit of manual work. It's not too big, but yeah, it'd be kind of cool if I could do it automagically, so to speak. I mean, this is not, I wouldn't call it, you know, too too much work. Hey Graham, welcome, welcome. Have you tried to do that with PCG? I have not tried to do it. I'm kind of trying to stay away from PCG at the moment. I'm trying to stay away from anything that's labeled as experimental. And it's a nifty thing, let's call it that way. But I actually haven't spent too much time looking at PCG either. Again, it's kind of a balancing of sorts. How much time do you have to spend on something? And yeah, it'd be kind of cool, I guess. But No, I have not tried that. That'd be cool if anybody has tried that. That'd be interesting to see. Susana, can you do a loop for pole in X radius? Actually, um so what's the node that you're thinking of to is it find actors or I'm not sure if it's nearest actor. Interesting. So I could I could run it like this. Hmm. Let's try something. So let's make an array here, because that would be. Let's see how this works. It's gonna. Let's see if it goes off the rails or not. But oh, it's selecting actors to check. No, that's not it. So I would want to find. Because if we get all actors of class, it's going to try and look for everything in the world. But maybe we can. There's not that many, so it shouldn't. It's not going to be too intensive. Uh, let's take a look. So if it's going to find all actors of class, and so from this actor is going to try to find all actors of class this, and for each of them. We're going to try and see which one's closer or within a certain distance. So let's make it a certain distance and get actor location. So we're going to try and compare with ourselves. Location, and I think it's like a minus to get the distance. Um, or no, is it distance too? I can't recall what the So if this one should be a float, and if this one is going to be less than, let's call it 1,000 units maybe, then we found our actor, right? The one that we want to link to. So at that point, what we could do is replace the one that we're providing, so the next telegraph pole. So we're going to set this to this guy. Oh, that's actually a good idea. Sphere overlap actors. Let's see. Is it that's the name of the node? Sphere. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. So let's try this out. It's kind of just prototyping at this point, and we'll see if it works. But this would just the sphere overlap might refine it afterwards. But what I wanted to try is if it's gonna find something within this 1,000 unit radius, can we actually, let's see, where do we want to put it? So for now, I'm just going to try and bypass this check where it's checking to see if the next telegraph pole is active. And let's jump into here. And since this one is set, Let's bump it down here. Let's compile and see what kind of mess this creates. And it's actually kind of a cool thing that the kind of a cool result that these ones just kind of droop down like that, where it looks like it's broken, right? Like the cables are broken. So okay, that's a cool result. But can we actually get these to join forces? Not sure how far 1,000 points is at, but oh, and I'm actually wondering if it finds itself. If it's trying to link to itself. Let me see. Um, and this is where I think, where was that node? I think this one has a setting to say ignore self, or is it just me? Oh, let's try this out. So this one, we need that. And then let's get a reference to self. Nope, I did not want that. Uh, that's not it. So make array. I was kind of thinking there might be an option here where it would say ignore self, right? All right, so sphere overlap actor, sphere radius, let's do 1,000. And then I'm not sure if this one you need to cast. Let's see. I think this one you might need to cast to something. Let me try this again. So I'm gonna go back to this one. I'm gonna try and say um, not equal to, let's get self. Okay, I'm not entirely sure why that. Oh, one of the things to note when it comes to these external actors, sometimes you might run into this issue where it says cannot be saved and, or as it has only been partially loaded, where you might need to reload that particular, might be like a level instance or, oh hey, oh it links, it looks like they all link back to zero somewhere. That's kind of interesting where they might be trying to link to. Where is this cable going to? Oh, that's pretty interesting. Why does it link to that? Huh. Oh, well, so it should be location for this guy. And it still links to somewhere at 0.00. Oh shoot. I did not set the next this one got oh it got reset because I unlinked them. Okay. Well, let's try that again. Oh, hey, look at that. That's pretty cool. But the only trouble is that they linked themselves one to the one to the other, which is not really what I wanted, right? So let's and if this one that's an interesting issue now. How do you determine now this one, I want this one to be linked onto the next one. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So let me see. I'm gonna have this one here, and I'm gonna move another one over here. Let's make that distance a little bit bigger. I think it's 1,000 units is kind of small. You know what? I think uh, I was gonna say it kind of works. There's like kind of an odd thing going on where they're linked not to the not to the right one. Hmm. It's definitely getting closer and a little bit easier to use. And my thought is if I place these now using that landscape spline, it let's it's pretty honky when it comes to this part where well, which one's next? Is this one next or is the other one next? But like you were saying, I think we need to figure out if they're already been linked, like if the next telegraph pole has been already set. So let me try, I'm guessing get next telegraph pole. If this is valid, so if this one's not valid yet, then we can go about and set it. Not sure if this is gonna help or it's just gonna break things. So this one already has a telegraph pole set. We don't want that. Oh, and that one had two. So they're all linking to this one. Okay, that's an interesting little thing. Oh, I think, let's try something here. I'm thinking this is not the right. I think we might need to use with break, because once I find one, that's gonna be the one, right? I don't want to go looking for other. So let's try for each loop with break. Not sure if this is gonna work, but we'll give this a shot. Yeah, let's see if this helps at all. And once we found this, so it's not valid, we want to, let's do a sequence here. We'll do that one first, and then on second, we just break out of that. This is kind of this is just a try here to see if this might work. Apologies for the spaghetti. If it might work or break things. All right, so let's clear this out here. Okay, so that one's none. Oh, now it doesn't even link into, it's not setting it. So I got everything hooked up. I'm actually wondering if this gets executed. So let me try and actually not go through a sequence, but once I end up with the construction, which could be down here. Let's try and break at that point. Is it thinking that it's causing a loop or something? All right, so that one's connected. Let's try adding another one. No, it still connects to the first one. That is kind of a bummer, but it feels a little bit more dynamic if I can figure out how to do this like that, because what I'm hoping is to use one of these IA scatter tools that I have here, that can already be easily set up to hug the road, with it being a spline. Let me see if I can select the one for the street signs. That's not it. I think it might be this one. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so I have the street signs. Let me just duplicate this real quick. And instead of the street signs, I'm going to have a blueprint actor, which is going to be this electric pole. Whoops, sorry, it should be down here. Electric pole. So in theory, this is what I'm hoping would happen, right? Where they would all be linked. But let me adjust because I think the sizes are pretty kind of offset a little bit too badly here. And the rotation, where's the rotation? Rotation snap. Okay, and now what I can do is set them up with a higher number of instances. So let's say 20. But yeah, the only trouble is that they all link into the same one from here, which is not what I really wanted. But hopefully that makes sense as what I'm trying to do. And I will try and do a little bit more digging today to see if I can figure this out and maybe get to the bottom of this construction script because it's something related to how I'm getting the actors and and also this the setting of this next telegraph pole. So we're only setting it once, and then but that's the trouble, and I think where they kind of link one to the other and back, they don't really, it doesn't link to the next one, and but that could turn out to be pretty useful. I mean, it's gonna save a ton of time to add things like this based on just with the spline, literally, Right. All right. So that was part of could you assign them an ID when they're spawned and link it to the next ID? That's an interesting thought. Yeah, Susanna, let me try that out this afternoon. I'm gonna spend some time and see if I can come up with anything. But that's a great suggestion. Thank you so much. And now, you know, this also brings up a slight issue now that I think about it, where I mean, it's not necessarily a big issue, right? It's these could have like a light on them, but how do I know which way the light is oriented? These could have a transformer on it, but how do I know if if I want to have a transformer on it or not? So there's some customizations to the electrical pole that might not work out so easily by trying to automate this. I mean, you can set them at random, but then how do you tell it what side of the road the light is on? Yeah, that's, you get into some of these decisions once you start doing something, and you're kind of like, doesn't even make sense. Is it gonna save me that much time? Yeah. So I think if they're all kind of the same, it, it would make sense, right? If they're all the same, but um, if you want to have some lights or some of these transformers, I'm starting to think maybe just add them as a simple mesh onto after the fact. But yeah, I'd have to think about it and see how I can, or just, at the same time, I could have a spline, on this spline, have, 10 of them or 6 of them. Um, yeah, I would have to think about this to see if it's worth the time spent to um I mean because it's not gonna I'm hopefully gonna figure it out sort of quickly, but I need to spend the time to see if it's worth it, if it's worth adding uh you know adding them this way. And I'm kind of thinking it might. I'm probably just gonna do these to be random, like the the ones that have the ones that have a transformer on it, or and the ones that have a light on it. And I might just set them up on one side of the road and just leave it like that, not have them not have them be set up on, either side. It'd be, variety with either side, but hey, Supun, welcome, welcome. Hello, how are you? So, Susanna, you'd have to do some tracing before placing them to check where's the road. And that's a good idea, actually. It could do a trace to see what the surface is. If that's also an idea. But first, and that's doable. I think first what I'm gonna try and do is get this working from a construction standpoint. Oh, hey, Subun, thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. And so try and get that in from, like I said, from the construction standpoint to see if this is feasible. I think it is. I'm hoping it is. And then try to try to just adjust these so that they're just on this side of the road, right? So it'd be where's my selection for this? This one would be, come on, kind of around here. All right, so I think the size might need to be a little bit bigger. There we go, like that. Right, so instead of them linking weirdly into that one over there, you know, now that I look at it, it created like kind of an interesting little mess. And it's it's not that bad. But yeah, this would be nice in between houses, right? That'd be kind of interesting. Supun, I have I think it's like a first generation 1070, might be 7, 8 years old. Uh, you can also have two sockets on the mesh and use a public variable to tell it. Oh, that's actually Susanna, that's a great idea actually. I could set it so that it only looks for things. I'm thinking it a little bit differently. So what I'm thinking of is here it would have an arrow which let me see, where did that end up? Right? So it would have an arrow and only look for things that are in front of it. And when it comes to finding an actor, right? So when it goes and does the for each loop, if the actor that it finds is within that distance and it's in front of it, then link to it. That could be something. Okay, I'm gonna investigate that this afternoon, and hopefully for tomorrow's stream, I'm gonna have something to show. I'm hoping to have something to show every day, but um, yeah. Okay, that actor is not loaded. I get it. Okay. Yeah, so I'll see what comes of it. In the meantime, this is kind of a funky little result. It's always some messes that get created can turn out into something kind of interesting. All right. Well, I think that's gonna be it for my stream today. A little bit shorter one, just shy of like an hour and a half. But thank you everybody so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you all tomorrow, same time around 11 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, in the meantime, have a great rest of your day and or evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, thank you, Supun. Thank you, Supun. You too, man. Thank you. All right. Take care, everybody, and have a good rest of your day. And yeah, Susanna, if you, like I said, if you want to reach out on Discord for any of um, the Git, as much as I know of it, I'm not a wizard or but let me know. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.